Now, the greatest radio shows of all time.
Suspense.
The Shadow Node.
Washington calling David Harding, counter-spy.
Classic radio theater.
The Great Gildersleeve.
Fibber McGee and Molly.
Dragnet. Gunsmoke.
The Lone Ranger.
Now, step back into our time machine with your host, Wyatt Cox.
Good evening, friends of the Inner Sanctum.
And on this Tuesday, we go back 73 years to a Tuesday, September 20th, 1949, an episode of Counter Spy, the fictionalized depiction of the FBI, starring don-maclaughlin and mandel-kramer, the case of the Postal Pirates, another two-part episode of Counter Spy, as they are investigating a parcel post theft ring. And we thank you for tuning in. On this Tuesday, this is the 20th day of September, 263rd day of the year, 102 days remaining in the year. This is the birth date of Marty Lundy, although you may not know him by that name. And this is also the birthday of twins Matthew and Gunnar. The singing duo has a famous father who himself was a child star. Do you know who they are? In 1519, Ferdinand Magellan set sail from Sanlúcar de Arameda with about 270 men on his expedition to circumnavigate the globe. Chester A. Arthur inaugurated as president number 21 in 1881. In 1891, the first gasoline-powered car debuted in Springfield, Massachusetts. James Meredith, an African-American, barred from entering the University of Mississippi in 1962. More civil rights, don't you know? Billie Jean King beat Bobby Riggs on this date in 1973 in a $100,000 winner-take-all Battle of the Sexes tennis match.
And so this is what it's come down to here in the Houston Astrodome. The long-awaited match, hustled and promoted ceaselessly and shrewdly by Bobby Riggs. Excitement engendered all over the country as Billie Jean hugged her husband Larry King. It began to become a cause célèbre. Equality for women. Equal rights. It was Billie Jean who fought for equal pay for women in the U.S. Open tennis tournament and got it. All of the women of America, or at least most of them, seem to be caught up with the anticipation of this match.
Battle of the Sexes in the Houston Astrodome on this date in 1973. Oh, and it was on this date also in 1973, another sporting item, as Say Hey, Willie Mays said goodbye to baseball. Mays had spent almost all of his 22-season career playing for the New York and San Francisco Giants before finishing with the New York Mets. He was elected to the Baseball Hall of Fame in 1979, his first year of eligibility, 660 home runs, third at the time of his retirement, currently fifth all-time, and won a record-tying 12 Golden Glove Awards beginning in 1957 when the award was first introduced. Lee Iacocca was named president of the Chrysler Corporation on this date in 1979. A suicide bomber in a car attack on the U.S. Embassy in Beirut in 1984, 12 people killed. The final performance of the musical Cats on Broadway in 2000. In 2007, between 15,000 and 20,000 protesters marched on Jena, Louisiana in support of 6 black youths who had been convicted of assaulting a white classmate. In 2011, the military ended its Don't Ask, Don't Tell policies, allowing gay men and women to serve openly for the first time. Among those passing away on this date in history, Jim Croce, taken from us far too soon in a plane crash. He was just 40. Also, pianist, composer, conductor Paul Weston, actress, singer Polly Bergen, and Jimmy Olsen in TV's first Superman television program, Jack Larson, all passing away on this date. Upton Sinclair born on this date, as was basketball coach executive Red Auerbach. Gogi Grant, the wayward wind is a restless wind. What a fine singer she was. Dr. Joyce Brothers and comic actress Ann Mira. This is birthday number 88 for the lovely Italian actress Sophia Loren. Game of Thrones novelist George R.R. Martin is 74. Marty Lundy turned 64 today. If you don't know him by that name, perhaps you know him as a member of the Four Horsemen. Arn Anderson. He is a retired wrestler today, but he does still work as an agent in All Elite Wrestling and works with his son, Brock Anderson, who is in the ring also. Arn Anderson, 64 years old today. From Third Rock on the Sun and ER, Kristen Johnson is 55. We asked you about Gunnar and Matthew. You might want to know their last name. It might help, because they perform under the monamic name Nelson. Yes, Gunnar and Matthew Nelson. Ricky Nelson's children. They also perform under the name Ricky Nelson Remembered, listed in the Guinness Book of World Records as the only family to reach #1 record status in 3 successive generations. Their generation, Ricky Nelson and Ozzie and Harriet. Gunnar and Matthew Nelson, 55 years old today. From The Walking Dead, Joe Bernthal is 46, and from Pushing Daisies, Sammy Hanratty is 27. Those just a few of the people who celebrate the 20th day of September as their birthday. And if this happens to be your birthday...
Hi, we're the 4 freshmen, and we just want to say, Happy birthday to you!
And from 73 years ago today, Tuesday, September 20th, 1949, Don McLaughlin, Mandel-Kramer in Counter Spy. I'm Wyatt Cox. Thanks for tuning in to this Tuesday edition of Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox on your favorite station.
You know, it's true. Difficult times have a way of focusing us. We have to think about what matters most when it comes to our spending, our health care. No doubt. This is why so many people are joining Medi-Share right now. Medi-Share is a trusted way to save up to 50% on your monthly healthcare costs. More than 400,000 people have already made the switch. It's pretty obvious why, too, especially now during this challenging season with healthcare costs and out-of-pocket expenses going up. Medi-Share can save you a lot of money. The typical family saves $500 a month. And Medi-Share is a Christian healthcare sharing ministry that's worked beautifully for 29 years. There are different options to choose from to fit your budget. I'll give you the number here in a second, and if you call, you can get a price within 2 minutes. Maybe now is the perfect time to make the switch and start saving. Here you go. Call 833-34-BIBLE. That's 833-34-BIBLE. 833-34-BIBLE.
Phillips H. Lord first considered a program called G-Men back in the early 30s. Unfortunately, J. Edgar Hoover was not fond of the depiction in that program of the ram bam shoot 'em up. And by the way, coming up later this week on some of these stations, we'll have an episode of the show that evolved out of G-Men and became Gangbusters. We'll have that coming up later on in this week on some of these stations. But Counter Spy came about in 1942 as a fictionalized version of the FBI, initially fighting the forces of the Nazis and the Japanese in World War II, and then evolving into a counter-espionage organization, and then finally just becoming a crime-fighting program. Phillips H. Lord used the Counter Spy so he wouldn't have to fight with J. Edgar Hoover anymore. And it's quite a good show, I think. Don McLaughlin, Mandel-Kramer as the Counter Spies, or the two leading ones. Of course, Don McLaughlin playing David Harding, who is the head of the Counter Spy, the J. Edgar Hoover role, if you will. From September 20th, 1949, 73 years ago today, the first part of the case of the Postal Pirates.
Pepsi-Cola, P-E-P-S-I, that's your smartest cola buy. Pepsi-Cola presents Counter Spy.
Washington calling David Harding, Counter Spy. Washington calling David Harding, counter-spy.
Harding, counter-spy, calling Washington.
United States counter-spies, especially appointed to investigate and combat the enemies of our country, both at home and abroad.
Tonight, the case of the Postal Pirates. Another counter-spy report to the American people. In one of New York City's larger post office branches, it is mid-afternoon and fairly quiet. Then, through the street door, comes a remarkably pretty girl of perhaps 27. Her eyes are surprisingly cold and searching, until they reach window number 5.
What'll it be, miss? Oh, hello.
Hello, handsome. 100 threes.
5 days in a row, 103-cent stamp. So you do a lot of mailing.
I've got a lot of friends.
I'll bet.
Mm-hmm.
And, I can see the reason why.
Oh, I didn't know postal clerks could make such pretty speeches.
Oh, there are a lot of other things we can do, too.
That why they keep you locked up in a cage?
If you'd like to find out, they let us out at 5.
Feeding time for the animals?
Ah, you might say.
Well, I always did like animals, especially big, burly ones.
Well, this one feeds at the Shamrock across the street from here.
Oh, there?
Mm-hmm.
That looks like a place where they feed the animals. Okay, I'll pick you up here at 5.
Here's the last of the dishes, baby.
Put them in the sink. We'll let them soak.
All right.
Now, isn't my apartment, even with the dishes, better than a public restaurant?
Baby, I even love the dishes. And now that we've wined and dined, how about a name? Not that I'd object to calling you baby permanently.
I was wondering when you'd ask. It's Kathy.
It's nice. Goes good with mine. Jimmy.
Is that all? No more questions?
Well, my mother taught me never to look a gift horse in the mouth.
Horse? Well, I'm not sure I like that. Jimmy.
Yeah.
Come here.
Well?
You know, post office isn't only work. It's a game, too.
Yeah, I've played it. Goes something like this, doesn't it?
Oh, don't crush. I'm fragile.
Oh, who reads labels? It's a waste of time.
You know, I might have a husband.
Well, if you do, he's a chump to let you out of his sight.
He's a chump.
Oh, you have one?
Oh, only on paper. We're separated. He pays the bills and prays for an excuse to divorce me.
You trying to give him one?
Don't be silly. I said he pays the bills. Are you, bothered?
Yeah, a little. It marks you handled with care.
I thought you said you didn't read labels. Try closing your eyes.
That's an idea. Come here.
Oh, remember, fragile. Oh, Jimmy. Oh.
My. What a pretty picture.
Oh, Nick. What's the idea of busting in here?
Well, me and Frank just got a lovely snapshot for my album. You got it all right, didn't you, Frank?
Right here from the doorway with my trusty camera.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, what is this?
Evidence, big boy. That's why I brought my boy Frank and his camera along. Been waiting a long time for my darling wife, Kathy, to step out of line.
Nick, you got this all wrong. I just met him today.
Fast worker. And if I got it wrong, the camera hasn't. Right, Frank?
A perfect shot.
You're Kathy's husband?
Sure. I'm not sore. You done me a favor.
Well, you're not going to pull a stunt like this on her.
Take your hands off me. Let go.
Take it easy, mister. I make 2 of you.
Yeah? Then this'll cut you down to size, big boy.
Jimmy, look out! A gun! Get it away from him!
Okay, Nick. Now I got the gun. Now get out of here.
You kidding? What you took, I can take back. No!
What? Nick's dead, Jimmy.
Holy mackerel.
Dead?
You're a little late dropping the gun, big boy.
But how could... I didn't mean...
It's done. He's dead.
Oh. Well, we'll have to call the police.
Jimmy, don't be a fool. If Nick's body is found here, what do you think this mess will look like to the cops?
It was an accident.
The cops will love that one.
Listen, Jimmy. Nick taught me a lot of things besides what a heel he was. Nick was in the rackets.
In the rackets?
Yeah, kid. He had a lot of enemies. He's found beside a road. Nobody will ask twice who did it.
What are you figuring, Frank? That this sets you up to take over Nick's racket?
Yeah. I can get hold of a couple of boys to help me get rid of Nick, and then we'll all keep quiet. I slip into Nick's spot. You two are in the clear. How do you like it, Kathy?
Okay, Frank.
But, Kathy, it's an awful chance.
Look, Jimmy, look, I like your style, and I don't want you wasting it in some jail cell while I'm around. You beat it now and let Frank take care of things. You stay away from me until I call you at home. And that won't be long, honey. That won't be long.
Hello?
Jimmy? Kathy?
Kathy, I've been staying home every night. I thought you'd never call. What happened? Did Frank?
He said it's all right, but he wants to see you. Half an hour in front of the Shamrock.
This is David Harding. To counter-spy agents in Chicago, Detroit, Philadelphia, and Boston. Continue investigation parcel post theft ring. Take no action, make no arrests, but lay plans to close in on known members of ring at a moment's notice. Special attention, Boston field office. Have Harry Peters telephone me as soon as possible.
Okay, Frank, what did you want to see me for? Where are we driving? Everything's all right, isn't it?
For me, Jimmy, yeah. For you, only maybe.
Maybe?
Depends on how you play ball.
What are you driving at?
Photograph I took. Not of you and Kathy, but of you and Nick.
Nick? Well, what does it show?
Take a look.
It looks like I killed him deliberately.
I cut it perfect. With Nick on the floor and you over him holding a gun. If that picture should show up when Nick is found, boy, oh, brother.
What do you want? Money?
I'm a postal clerk.
Then what do you want?
I took over Nick's racket. A racket that's worked in the post office.
The post office?
Yeah. Nick had guys in post offices, stealing valuable packages.
What, just walking out with them?
No. After people insure their packages, our guys relabel them. Send them to a special address.
That's what you want me to do?
Let's say this photo wants you to do it. And, of course, Kathy. She don't want to get mixed up in no murder rap.
Kathy?
Well, kid?
All right, Frank. I guess there's nothing else I can do.
United States Counter-Spies, Washington headquarters. Oh, yes, Mr. Peters. Will you hold on just a moment? Attention, Statistical Department. If Mr. David Harding is there, will he please take a rush phone call on extension 61 from Mr. Harry Peters, extension 61.
Hello, Peters. I've been waiting to hear from you. How's it going in Boston?
Pretty well, Dave. We've got a line on all the small fry here. We're ready to pick them up on a moment's notice.
That's good. I've got the same reports from Chicago, Detroit, and Philadelphia. But what's bad is the racket started in New York, too.
Oh, great.
As nearly as I can make out, this parcel post theft ring has been in operation about 3 months. They've stolen over $1 million in merchandise already. We pick up the small fry, and the big shots just start over again.
I agree, Dave.
I'm going up to New York. I want you to meet me there. We'll take up the investigation together.
Fine. When?
Tomorrow. And you can spend the time in between reading postal regulations.
I know them backwards already, Dave.
Good. I'll have something else for you. Your credentials as Harry Gordon, postal clerk.
Jimmy.
Yeah, what now, Harry?
My daily stamp reports and registration book. Will you check them to see if they're right?
Well, after 3 weeks, you ought to know yourself.
I'd just like to make
That's
sure.
my luck, always getting stuck with substitutes.
Guy's got to make a living.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry, Harry. Let's see.
This post office work isn't so good for a guy's disposition.
Forget it. I got trouble. Yeah, your books are okay.
Thanks.
Customer at your window.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, mister?
I'd like to have this package insured, please.
For how much?
Well, they're nylon stockings. You better make it $150.
Okay.
How you doing, Peter?
Okay so far, Dave.
Penny Arcade, 42nd Street and 8th Avenue at 6 o'clock tomorrow.
Here you are, mister. Your receipt.
Will it get there all right?
Sure. Be right on time. Don't worry about it.
Well, we'll see what happens at the Penny Arcade and what happens with the nylon stockings, don't you know? From Tuesday, September 20th, 1949, 7:30 Eastern Time on ABC, Counter Spy here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. The news from 73 years ago today is next. We continue our Tuesday edition of Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. This hour we're listening to Counter Spy, as it was originally broadcast on ABC Tuesday, September 20th, 1949. In the newspapers of that Tuesday 73 years ago, these were some of the headlines. Hope, fear, and confusion among governments, homes, and banks. First frantic reactions yesterday to the British pound devaluation and the world monetary shakeup. While common folks feared higher prices and harder times, brokers rushed in to buy shares in commodities the world always needs: rubber, tin, cotton, copper, and in speculative gold to safeguard their cheapened money. British exporters looked for a boom and a full-scale invasion of the dollar market with their cheaper products. Stiffer competition loomed for American industry. Government ministers were in huddles in Europe, Africa, and Asia. Jack Smith, writing for the Associated Press, saying in most countries in Western Europe and in many lands besides, banks and stock exchanges closed or suspended trading in foreign currencies until the situation settled. Violence broke out in the coal fields yesterday as nearly all of John L. Lewis's 480,000 United Mine Workers struck voluntarily. Shortly after the United Mine Workers members quit work to back up their demands of no pension, no work, reports of violence came from West Virginia and Kentucky. And a few hours later, 5 coal-hauling railroads said they'll furlough more than 26,000 workers before the end of the week. More layoffs are in the offing. Industry spokesmen leapt into the fray. They accused Lewis of fomenting the walkout. Lewis didn't comment. In Kentucky, where 55,000 miners were idled, 2 carloads of men fired into a strip mine truck in Knox County. 2 riders abandoned the vehicle as it crashed over a mountainside. About 20 shots were fired at the men. No one was hurt. Warrants issued for 3 men suspected of participating in the shooting. Meanwhile, CIO President Philip Murray said yesterday that 1 million steel workers will strike at midnight Saturday unless the industry agrees to establish a company-financed welfare system. A keynote of hope and peace for the world was struck yesterday by delegates of the Soviet and Western nations in a preview of the 4th UN Assembly opening today. The 59 nations gathering will start its 3-month session without fanfare in the auditorium of the 1939 World's Fair. Russia belatedly agreed yesterday on a new attempt to settle the long East-West dispute over Austria's future. Talks will open in New York on Thursday. American officials expressed some skepticism over the outcome, but said the discussions may provide a clue to Russia's immediate intentions in the Cold War. Meanwhile, on the 5th anniversary of the Russian-Finnish armistice, Finnish Premier Karl A. Fagerholm advised Russia if she minded her own business, she would find Finland a good neighbor. The governments of Spain and Hashemite Jordan issued a joint communique saying they had agreed on mutual collaboration for the conservation of world peace. King Abdullah of Jordan had just completed a 13-day visit with Franco. William D. Pauley Jr., son of the former ambassador to Brazil, said yesterday he and Elizabeth Taylor of the movies have mutually agreed to call off their engagement. The beauteous Miss Taylor's picture schedule had interfered with the young romance. Actress Judy Garland scheduled to be released from Cedars of Lebanon Hospital in Hollywood yesterday following minor surgery. Cornered by reporters, Vice President Alban Barkley refused to say whether there were any developments in the St. Louis question, meaning his friendship with Mrs. Carlton F. Hadley, a widow of that city. And we must admire the methods, if not the motives, of the staff of the Paris Theater in Shanghai. The management of the theater had booked the Tyrone Power film Crash Dive. The staff, all loyal Chinese communists, said, "We won't work if you show that. It's imperialistic and military, American propaganda." So no show. Propaganda or no, we can think of a lot of films that could use a similar strike. And those some of the day's top news stories as reported in the newspapers of Tuesday, September 20th, 1949 on your radio Counter Spy, which continues now on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox.
Nice shooting, mister.
Like to try and load yourself?
Pinball's my speed. The other side of the arcade. Come on and watch.
Okay.
Any news on Jimmy Morrison, Dave?
We traced the package I mailed that Jimmy Morrison relabeled. It went to 428 Front Street, a warehouse.
A warehouse?
Maybe the central warehouse for the whole racket. Well, here's your pinball machine.
Watch me, boy.
One thing more. We picked up another outside contact. Your man, Jimmy Morrison, frequently meets a blonde bombshell.
46,000.
Yeah.
Blonde bombshell. Want me to follow that?
She may be the big shot we're looking for. Not so good that time.
Just watch this one.
Morrison has lunch with the blonde in the main dining room of the Shamrock every day.
Okay, I'll catch him tomorrow. At the Shamrock.
Kathy, I tell you, we can't keep it up.
Look, Jimmy, we have to. Besides, don't you like spending the extra dough on me?
Oh, honey, if it wasn't for you. Why did Nick have...
Forget that name,
He
Jimmy.
could have gotten that divorce, then we could have...
What's the matter?
A guy coming toward us.
Well?
Harry Gordon. He works with me at the post office.
Oh.
Hello, Jimmy. I almost missed you way over here in the corner.
Hi, Harry.
Well?
Well, what?
No knockdown?
This is Kathy Thomas.
Hi.
Hello.
Mind if I join you? Thanks.
What's on your mind, Harry? You want me to check your books again?
No. In fact, this is kind of private.
Jimmy's got no secrets from me.
Oh, like that?
Yeah.
This might be embarrassing.
I'm blushing. Speak your piece.
What is it, Harry?
Okay. Here it is in 3 little words. I want in.
Is that a riddle?
Let's cut the sparring, Jimmy. I got eyes and you got careless sometimes.
Look, I don't...
Wait a minute, Jimmy. Go on, Harry. Let's hear you spiel.
Okay, sister. Your boyfriend here's been making funny with the post office. Packages come in from dress goods houses, jewelers, appliance dealers, and what have you. Junior here gets them, relabels them, and 5 will get you 10. They wind up where they shouldn't.
You've got an awful big nose. Things could happen to it.
Easy, Jimmy, easy. He's a bright boy. Harry, I suppose you could do what Jimmy's doing.
I take it I'm in.
Yes, if you have to be told.
Kathy.
It's all right, Jimmy. Harry, we'll get in touch with you.
Don't keep me waiting. I'm impatient.
In a day or two. No, we'd like to have our dinner.
Sure thing. Goodbye, Miss Thomas. Jimmy, my apologies. I had you figured about 5 sizes too big. So long.
Kathy, I don't like it. You declared him in.
Yeah, I did, but Frank has the final word.
You think Frank will turn him down?
He might. And in that case, I wouldn't want to be in Harry Gordon's shoes.
September 20th, 1949, Counter Spy on this Tuesday Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. On Wednesday's Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, the first episode of Life with Luigi, starring J. Carrol Naish, from 74 years ago, September 21st, 1948. Immigrant Luigi Basco arrives in Chicago, sets up his antique business, avoids Rosa, and nearly sells his prized statue of George Washington. That's on Wednesday's Classic Radio Theater, but now the conclusion of Counter Spy, Don-MacLaughlin, Mandel-Kramer, 73 years ago today, September 20th, 1949.
It's just after 5 p.m. in Midtown, New York. From a tall marble building, Peters, alias Harry Gordon, postal clerk, emerges to join the homeward-bound throng. A man sidles up to him.
Hello, Harry.
What? Who are you?
Guy you wanted to see. Kathy told me.
Oh, fast work.
I've got my car. We'll go for a drive. That way, conversation's private. Come on. Okay, Harry, stay on the West Side Highway now.
Swell car. Handle's nice.
Yeah, I know. I like to drive. Except in city traffic.
That why you wanted me to take the wheel?
One reason?
And the other?
You're a bright boy, Harry.
Thanks.
Yeah, the kind of a guy we'd like to have. If we were taking on new guys.
You're not?
We don't like volunteers. We like to pick out our own boys and hold them to us good and tight.
I stick like glue where there's dough.
Glue melts. We prefer something more solid. Now, you might be a right guy.
Thanks.
Or a stoolie.
I can't sing a note.
Maybe even a cop.
I haven't got flat feet.
Maybe, but we never take chances. Hey, slow down, will you? You're going too fast.
I like speed.
Now, don't get cute and try to get a cop on our tail.
A lot of power in this motor.
Slow down, I'll blast your head off.
I thought you'd show a rod sooner or later.
Okay, I showed it. Now slow down.
What for? Right now, this is the safest way I can drive.
You crazy fool, look out.
Close, huh?
You don't slow down, I'll...
Shoot? Then what happens to us both? The needle's pushing 70. 75.
You'll kill us both.
That's better than you killing me. Look at the needle. 85.
It's the car. Okay, you win. You win. Only slow down.
Toss the gun on the floorboard.
Okay. Now slow it.
Turn out all your pockets and open the jacket wide. I don't want you to cross me.
Yeah, sure. I ain't got another gap. Hey, a police siren a block behind. Cops, now we are in the stew.
Maybe. That's a good boy. No more guns.
locked up, but what are you going to do about those cops coming?
You'll see, tough guy. Get out.
Hey, what is this? Only one plainclothes guy in that patrol car.
Peters, I've been tailing you since you got into this car.
What a race you staged. He pulled a gun on me, Chief. The only way I could make him drop it was to speed up.
Chief, who are you guys?
Counter spies.
Sorry it turned out this way, Dave. It practically tips our hand.
I'd rather have our hand tipped than you dead. We'll move in right away. We'll hand this fellow over to the police and then go right down to pick up Jimmy and the girl. Well, Peters, our friend Jimmy's not here.
Yeah. Looks as if he left in a hurry.
He can't possibly know about the chase and... Hey, Peters.
What's the matter?
This magazine opened to page 7.
One of those true crime story magazines.
Open to an article about the capture of Professor Horn.
The case we handled, Dave. Jimmy Morrison evidently been reading up on criminals.
More than that, Peters. Here's a photograph taken at police headquarters that time. And there you are in the background.
What? Hey, lucky my name isn't given in the caption.
Still, this picture's enough to tell Jimmy Morrison you're not the postal clerk you pretended to be. It's a cinch he saw this and lit out.
He'll head for the girl first. He's soft on her.
We'll go to her place then. If she's not there, then we go to the warehouse on Front Street, where the gang's been forwarding its loot. This is David Harding. Attention counter spy agents, Boston, Chicago, Detroit, and Philadelphia. Circumstances force us to move now in postal theft investigation. Carry out all raids according to plan. Pick up all members of the ring you can lay your hands on. We will conduct raid on main warehouse here in New York. Act on this order immediately.
Kathy. Jimmy, I thought Frank told you never come near this warehouse.
Forget Frank. We got to get out of here.
What are you talking about?
That guy, Harry Gordon, he's really a counter spy.
Counter spy?
I saw his picture in a magazine.
Oh.
Come on, Kathy. We haven't got any time to lose. There may be...
Kathy, that last.
Oh. Nick.
What goes, Kathy?
Counter spies. Jimmy says they're onto us.
What?
Nick, I thought I'd killed you.
Forget it, Jimmy. We're all in a jam now together.
A frame-up.
Look, Jimmy.
You jockeyed me into this.
Yeah, kid. And you're staying in.
Nick, forget the gun. We've got to stick together.
That one loaded with blanks, too, Nick?
Try it and see, kid.
Stop it. The counter spies will be right outside this minute.
Wait, I'm putting it together, Kathy. At that time you telephoned me, I never gave you my number.
So you didn't.
You didn't even know my last name, man.
That's right. It was a frame. Nick played dead, so you'd be forced into this setup.
Your post office is in a nice district. Good merchandise.
There, you got it all.
But the funny thing is, Kathy, you didn't have to frame me. I'd have done anything you wanted me to. But I'm not doing anything more.
Jimmy, we've got to get away from here. The three of us are in this now.
Wrong edition, baby.
Huh?
Just two. You two.
What?
Get over there. Both of you.
He's crossing us, Jimmy, you and me.
How does it feel, Kathy?
Don't be a sap. Do something.
All Jimmy's going to do is die. Now stand there. I got a letter to type, and I'm strictly a one-finger guy. And I don't want to use it on the trigger. Yet.
All of our agents stake out around the warehouse, Peter?
Yes, Dave, and we're in luck.
Oh, how?
Conway tells me Jimmy Morrison went into the warehouse just a little while ago.
Good. Maybe a meeting of the brains of the mob.
What's that?
Shots from inside the warehouse. Let's go. While you men cover the main floor of the warehouse, Peters and I'll take the office upstairs. Peters.
Holy. Jimmy Morrison and that girl.
Maybe they're still alive. No, she's not.
Jimmy Morrison's gone, too. Here's a note, Dave.
Note.
Typed and signed by Jimmy Morrison. Listen. Kathy was no good. She was poison and poisoned me. She really ran this whole package stealing racket and tricked me into it. There's no chance of getting away. I don't want to, and I won't let her, so I'm going to help her escape the only way she can, by taking her with me. Jimmy Morrison.
Oh.
Well, looks as if the girl was the big shot, Dave. Murder and suicide. Just winds up the case nice and neat.
Looks like it, Peters. Wait a minute. The boy's holding the gun.
Well, he was the suicide, according to the note.
The note may say so, but the evidence does not. This was no suicide, Peters. It was murder. Double murder. This is David Harding. The deaths of Jimmy Morrison and Kathy Thomas, plus the simultaneous raids we made in Boston, Chicago, Detroit, and Philadelphia, would have ended our investigation of the parcel post theft ring, except for one small mistake. A mistake that turned an apparent suicide into murder. A mistake that led us straight to the criminal boss who tried to buy life insurance with death. For the exciting conclusion of this case, I invite you to listen Thursday night.
Case of the Postal Pirates. File 2 on Counter Spy. Tonight's Counter Spy program originated in New York, was directed by Leonard L. Bass, dramatized by Palmer Thompson, and featured Don McLaughlin and Mandel-Kramer with music by Jesse Crawford. Counter Spy is a Phillips H. Lord production for Pepsi-Cola. Enjoy some Pepsi, ice cold tonight.
And the conclusion of this Counter Spy will be coming up on Thursday's Classic Radio Theater. Please visit our webpage, classicradio.stream, to stream our shows on demand. To learn more about classic radio collecting, you can contact me there. You can find our social media links. You can find our podcast information. And you can also buy me a copy if you enjoy what we do here. That'll help us acquire new great classic radio theater collections. That's at classicradio.stream. Thanks for tuning in. Tell all your friends the great radio shows are right here at this spot on the dial. Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox on your favorite radio station.